Today we are going to discuss why does ice float on water. So this is the most regular observation everyone would have experienced in their lifetime. So probably maybe whether you ask that question why it is floating or it just floats or any kind of interrogation you have had it before, I don't know. So today we'll see what is the science behind this. So before that, we must know there are three states of matter, right? Before discussing about ice, water, or anything, we must know there are three states of matter. Anybody?
Solid, liquid, and gas.
Yes, solid, liquid, and gas. Very much obvious, right? Because we are seeing in our day-to-day life, so it is very easy to give this answer. So as you said, solid, liquid, and gas. Okay. Beyond that, so what do you mean by a solid, or what do you mean by a liquid, or what do you mean by a gas? So for the same, if you take any particular element, the element you can find, because in normal ambient temperature you will find it in some state, only one particular state, either solid or liquid or gas. But if you vary the temperature, you can find it is changing its state, right? State of matter. So what is happening really? Whether the element's chemical property is changing, like it's becoming different element, or what is happening within the element. Anybody? If you vary the temperature for a same given element, just leave that picture. What I'm asking is for the same given element, if you vary the temperature, the states of matter varies. So what is really actually happening? There is a chemical change or a physical change?
Physical change.
Yes, physical change. But now I want to ask you, what do you mean by a physical change?
It continues with a cycle.
What is it? Continues?
Continues.
Continues with what cycle? No, what type of physical change the matter undergoes? You said physical change.
Physical change.
What is that?
Reversible physical change.
Reversible physical change. You are adding one more adjective to physical change. But what I'm asking is, what do you mean by physical change?
The process
Change
will
in
continues.
What is that?
The process
Change
will
in which-
continues.
Continues. What is that continues?
None of its atomic, like electrons and protons or neutrons, will not change any positions.
Okay.
Only it's the things what we can see will change positions or become like powder or something like that.
So what do you mean by that? So we can say the position of the atoms with respect to other atoms, or the molecules with respect to other molecules change. Can we take like that?
Yes.
Guys, everybody,
Molecules.
can we take like that, guys? What we
Yeah.
are saying here is the physical change. What we mean by a physical change is the relative position of the molecules or the atoms changes if you vary the temperature. Can we take like that?
Yeah.
Yes. So what will happen if the relative position of the molecules or atoms changes? So you will see solid or liquid or gas. In the order, what I'm saying is solid is like somewhat closely packed. It's arranged neatly. Okay. Like if you take a shelf, all the atoms are arranged neatly so that you will see a solid shape. Any solid, if you say, you can find there is a, we will call more technically like a lattice structure or crystalline structure. We will not go into that. We are going to study in future. But just to keep it in mind, solid means that atoms or molecules are arranged like closely, tightly. How it is arranged? Because of the bond. Okay, the bond established between those atoms. Those bonds, okay, in chemical bonds, those bonds established in the atoms that got arranged. But once you vary the temperature, the bond gets weakened. Okay, so it will change to the next state called liquid state. Okay, so it will become a liquid state. The bond between the atoms or molecules get weakened, so that the molecules or atoms, the relative position will vary. So you will see that you know how liquid behaves. Okay, it will take the shape of the container wherever you pour, that transparency, color, and all that they vary for different type of liquids. But we will not get into that. In generally, liquid means that bond between the molecules and atoms is somewhat weakened by the temperature. And gas means the bond is completely broken between the molecules or atoms, so it started to move around freely. So that is what you are going to see in a gas. Okay, so you will not see any type of like color or something. It will be like invisible. Okay, sometimes smoke you can see, but once it disperses in the air, you will not see that also. You can take for an example air. There are so many molecules are mixed in our air: oxygen, nitrogen, so in different proportion, but we can't see them because it is not connected. It's just moving randomly here and there. So there is no bond. So that's what in this slide we are seeing. See how but here I am not showing the same element. The solid is cup, the liquid is the coffee or whatever is the drink, then the smoke I'm showing you here. So all are different elements. So maybe if the coffee, because it is hot, the smoke is coming here. So this smoke maybe belong to the water, okay, not with the coffee, because coffee is consist of so many mixtures, right? Sugar will be there, coffee powder will be there, but coffee, that complete mixture is not evaporating. What is evaporating? Maybe the water content may be getting evaporated. So that maybe you are seeing like a smoke. So the plastic cup, see the soil, since it is a solid, you can see how the atoms are closely arranged. So coffee, since it's a liquid, somewhat the relative portion between the atoms or molecules are slightly larger. But in gas, it is much larger. That means the bond is broken. So these are all the three states. So from these three states itself, we can make one firm conclusion that solids are high dense, liquids are somewhat next to solid in the way of density I'm speaking, and gas is much more lighter. Okay, can we conclude like that, guys? Anybody? Can we conclude the density of these three matters, the relationship between the density of these three matters, how they are related with each other? Can we conclude? Solids having higher density than the liquids, and liquids are having higher density than gases. So what I mean by density, so that we should be very much clear. What I mean by density, or what you know, or what your understanding about density. Anybody? I want to know your understanding. Guys, what is your understanding about density?
So mass per unit volume.
Okay, that is a standard definition, but your understanding should be like what you will see in your regular life. So what do you mean by dense? So what do you mean by so much dense? So mass
Sir,
per
if
unit.
like
Tell me.
a lot of matter is like compressed and placed together, then you can consider it as a very dense object. But if it's like like what released and then there is no much compression, then it's less denser.
Okay, then we will take like we will take one box, cardboard box of a fixed volume, right? Empty box. I'll fill all the balls here. So if I pack it closely, all the balls, then the density of the box is higher, right? Am I right? But if
Yes.
I pack the cardboard box with a lesser amount of balls, then the density's volume is same, because the box only the same box, the volume occupied by the box is same, but now it is consist of lesser number of balls, so the density is become lesser. So the matter occupying per unit volume, what I mean unit volume is constant volume. You can keep the unit whatever way you want, 1 centimeter cube, 1 meter cube, that's your convenience. Okay, 1 liter, whatever volume unit you want, you can keep. So it not to be 1 also, any value, but that should be constant. For a given volume, if consists of more matter, you can push it inside, then it is having higher density. For the same volume, if it is having less matter, then it is having lower density. That's all the definition. So you have to keep one parameter constant. Here we will keep volume constant. So solid is like packing everything in a. So if you take 1 centimeter cube, so in 1 centimeter cube, if in case of solid, you will find more matter in it. But for the same 1 centimeter cube, in case of liquid, you will find less matter in it. Okay. But matter is spreaded. Okay. What I mean, matter is spreaded. We are not losing the matter. But what I want to say here is for the given volume, 1 centimeter cube, the matter occupied per 1 centimeter cube got less. That means it is occupying more volume. So if you want to fix the mass, it will take more volume. So if you fix the volume, it will take less mass. So that's what happening in liquid. So if you go to gas, for the same 1 centimeter cube, you will find very few matter in the 1 centimeter cube of the volume. What I mean by volume is a space. You can consider space. You draw imaginary lines in the space, 1 centimeter by 1, so x-axis 1 centimeter, y-axis 1 centimeter, z-axis 1 centimeter. If you draw all these lines, you'll get a cube. So it's an imaginary space, 1 centimeter cube. So whatever mass occupies there, so that is called density. So if the same imaginary cube, if you keep it in solid, more matter will be there. For the same imaginary cube, if you keep it in liquid, less matter will be there. For the same imaginary cube, if you keep it in air, still less matter will be there. So density varies like that. So this is like, in principle, we can consider like this. Right? Am I right? Guys?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So here, okay, we concluded solids are higher denser than the other states of matter. So we will take some known solids, zinc, copper, and silver, and gold. So these
Yeah,
solids,
sir, I have a doubt.
yeah, ask me.
If we get water vapor or steam in a very high dense, very high volume, then we condense it, then it will become much more water.
What is it?
Like when we evaporate water, there is 500 ml in it.
Yeah,
Then we allow it to expand. Then
yeah,
and its volume increases.
yeah.
And if we cool down it, it will become much more water than before.
Maybe in the air, some other moisture will be there. So you have to monitor that also, right? You take
but
it in, you take it inside the vacuum. Okay. So there should not be any more air or moisture content in the atmosphere. Only water you are having. Then you try to heat it up. Then it will become vapor. Then you try to cool it down. It will become water. Same mass will transfer from this state to that state. But if you are dealing in the normal atmosphere, you will make cool down further moisture also from the atmosphere. That also start to add to your water, right?
But the water which increases, when it cools down, will it become more water?
No, you're taking, when the water means in liquid state, you're telling.
Yeah.
In the liquid state, when you're cooling into ice.
No.
No.
The water we change it to steam.
Yeah.
And then it expands and its volume increases.
Yeah.
And then when the volumes increase, it becomes much more than 500 ml. And then
tell me.
Then it becomes much more than 500 ml.
No,
and
how?
then we allow it to cool it down.
No.
Then it will become more water than 500 ml.
No, if you are speaking about the atmosphere, what environmental condition you are speaking?
Vacuum.
Then I don't think so.
It will be 500 ml if we condense it.
Yes. I don't think so. It will increase the volume. But if you speak volume like slight variation in the volume, if you keep on cools down, the volume reduces. Actually, the cold water is having less volume than the normal room temperature volume. But there is one particular temperature, if you still goes down, the volume increases. That's what we are going to see in this class. Okay. You just be with me, then finally we'll discuss about this. So here there are 4 known solids are given to you. So these known solids are in the liquid state, and also there is a rectangular box in each vessels. That is the nothing but the solid state of the same element. You may ask, in this given temperature, it can't exist in both state. Okay, in single state it may exist, but it's like before it's melting, we have captured this moment. You can consider like this. We have taken the snapshot before the solid is melting in the liquid state, because liquid means it should be some higher temperature, right? So it cannot be, zinc cannot be liquid in the room temperature. So somewhat higher temperature I'm maintaining in all these baths according to the different melting point of each solid. Copper will have different melting point, silver will have different melting point. So according to the melting point, I maintain these baths. So it has become a liquid. So I am just dropping a solid. It's also going to turn into liquid. But before that, we will take the snapshot. What is happening? All the respective solids inside their respective liquid state started to sink. Because it's very much obvious. As we have discussed in the previous slide, solids are higher, dense, are having high density than the liquid state, right? So it started to sink down. So before that, we concluded solids are having high density. And now I am introducing one more concept here. The high density matter sinks in the low density. So that's why I'm introducing here. So everybody would have noticed this, so much obvious. High density matter sinks in the low density. But why? You want me to answer that? I want you guys to answer that. Why? Why high density matter sinks in the low density matter? Why? That you have to answer me. Now we know solid is denser, but why it sinks in the liquid?
Because its density is lower than the liquids.
No. Liquid is having a lower density. Solid is having higher density. Higher dense matter sinks in the lower dense liquid. Why?
Yeah, because the density is higher.
Oh, that will not be the answer. Oh, density is higher. Why? What is the physics behind that? Why it should sink? Yeah, others.
Because the density is higher, it won't go away, and then they'll come together and join, and then they'll float.
No, that may not be the scientifically correct answer. Same element. Okay, same element. And this is somewhat deep. So somebody has given the answer same element. So what they try, so we can interpret like that. Since it's the same element, but in a different state, liquid and solid, the solid occupies less volume. The same element of the liquid state occupies more volume. When I put the solid inside the same element of the liquid, just follow me because I'm keep on using the word same element. So when I am putting trying to immerse the same element solid into the same element liquid. So what happens? The less volume of that liquid is coming out. So because of that, what happens?
Sir, according to Archimedes' principle, all objects are pushed up by a force which is equal to the liquid displaced by that object. So in this case, that thing is really compressed since it's high density. So
Yes.
it only displaces a less amount of water.
Yes.
In that case, only less force. So,
Yes, that is. So what he said is, he's speaking about a buoyancy force. Okay, buoyant force. The phenomenon is called buoyancy. So what happens when you put an object inside the liquid? That object tries to displace the water. Okay, so when the displaced water, if you measure the weight of the displaced water, if it equals to the weight of the object what you have thrown inside that liquid, if it is equals, then the object immerses fully, but it will not touch the bottom. It will be floating in between, but it immerses fully. So we can call it a sink. It sunk, but it will not touch the bottom. It will be in between the ground and the surface. So it will be in between, it will be floating because the weight of the water displaced and the weight of the object is same. So it is something connected with the weight of the water displaced and the weight of the object. So it is called Archimedes principle. So when the weight of the displaced water and the weight of the object immersed, It's something to deal with these two parameters. Okay. So when the weight of the displaced water is greater than the weight of the object immersed, then the object will not immerse fully. It may immerse partially. Okay. Because the whatever water get displaced, that itself sufficient to balance the weight. So it will not fully immerse. Partially it may immerse. So it will float on the surface. But when the weight of the displaced water is lesser than the weight of the object immersed, it start to sink. So there will not be any upward force or balancing force to push the object sinking in. So it will touch the bottom of the whatever vessel you are speaking, it will touch the bottom of it. So it's something to deal with the Archimedes principle. So only higher dense objects sinks. But here I can ask you one contradictory question. Iron is a higher density than water, right? Guys, everybody's agreeing with me. So iron is having high density than the water. We will take seawater itself. So iron is having high density than the seawater. But why the ship made up of iron floats? Anybody? But this is not something to do with the ice, why it floats on the water, but it's something to examine your understanding, to make you to think. Why iron floats? I mean, not iron, the ship which is made up of iron floats on the seawater. Why it is so? Even though iron is having
Buoyancy.
what is the simple concept behind it? Buoyancy, okay. Okay, buoyancy, right? Okay, buoyancy. But what is behind it? Buoyancy is just a word, it's a force. Why the ship is floating on the sea, even though iron is having high density than the water? Because previously only we concluded high density start to sink in the low density. But iron is having more higher density than the seawater, but it starts to float. Why it is so?
Sir, the ship is made in such a way that the weight is displaced over a long area, so that the weight of the water displaces sometimes more than the weight of that ship, so the force will also be greater and then float.
Yes, super. Actually, the ship is designed in such a way it will displace the more amount of water, so that the weight of the water displaced is greater than the weight of the ship. So only ship floats. It will not immerse completely. You can see only quarter, like 1/4 of the height of the ship will be immersed. Okay, not completely. So if we design better, still you can make it to float better. So what I mean by design, the shape of the ship. So for floating, not only the density matters, the shape also matters. That's what I want to bring it out here. Okay, so I don't think that high density only matters for floating. No, more than density, the design, the shape of the object also matters. For the same ship, if I compress into a solid ball and I put it on the water, so it will sink, because the bigger volume of the ship I compressed into smaller volume, but the mass is same. Whatever the weight of the ship, that is same, but I removed all the empty spaces, I compressed it. A ball, a big ball. You can think like a wrecking ball. So but the volume is less, the displacement of water will be less, so the weight of the water displaced is less. So as per Archimedes principle, that ball sink. Okay, are we clear here? Yes. But okay, we stop here, but we will go to the previous slide. This I just brought it to make make you guys to think somewhat deeper. So we will continue with our main topic. So we have seen solids are more dense than the liquid, subsequently gases. But there are exceptions. Always there are exceptions. Okay, there is no general blanket rule. Always there are exceptions. So these elements, silicon, germanium, and bismuth and water, if they are in solid, their density is lesser than when they are in the state of liquid. So you can see the figures here. How silicon is, density of a silicon solid is less than the density of silicon liquid. But silicon and germanium, bismuth, you are not see naturally, because in room temperature, it will be always be solid. You will not observe this property. But water, there is a possibility to observe, because the water can coexist in all the three states: ice, liquid, gas, vapor. In three states, it can coexist. So naturally, you would have seen how water behaves in terms of solids. So that's what you will see naturally. But all these other three things you will not see naturally. So, but keep it in mind. This also floats in their liquid state. You put the silicon solid in the liquid silicon, it floats. Okay, fine. So now from this figure, I told you water is in the ice form, it is having less density than in the liquid form. So we will conclude. Shall we close the slide? Okay. Now you know water is in the ice form, it is having less dense than the liquid form, so it floats. Does it serve? Does it serve? Does it serve as an answer for our question? I just given you the figure. Here, take it. If you measure the density of the ice, it is always less than the density of the water. So density is lesser, ice floats in the water. Everybody is happy because it's so much obvious, no? Can we close like that? What your mind says? Something? Why there is an exception for this solid or for this these elements? That should be the question you should be asking. Why there is an exception for these elements? In water, it is having high density, but when it becomes solid, okay, in water it having on density, but it has become solid, we will think it should have more density because all the matter packed together. But what happens? It happens in reverse. The density got less. Why it is so? Why it is so? Why the density got less? Why the density is lesser in ice than the water? We have seen solids means all the matter packed together, but in ice, the density has become lower. Why water is behaving strangely? We will leave other elements. Why water is behaving strangely? When it becomes solid, it occupies less volume. Okay, that's what mean, no? It occupies less volume or it occupies more volume? What does it mean when I say less denser? Anybody? Why ice is having low or less density than the liquid water? So water, no, here the confusion will come. So it's better we will use the word liquid water, solid water. Better we will use liquid water and solid water. Liquid water is having more density than the solid water. Why it is so? Anything is striking your brain? Something to relate it with the chemical properties? Or shall we see? You guys want to know? Yeah. Or any clue or any hint you can give, or something vague, some outline you can give. Why it is so? Why the ice is denser than the water? Sorry, why the water is denser than the ice? Any vague clue you can give or outline? So you guys know water is H2O, right? There is no doubt in that. So how these molecules arranged? 2 hydrogen atom, 1 oxygen atom. How these 3 atoms arranged here? How these 3 atoms arranged here? So anything to do with that, the arrangement of atoms for the density? Obviously, right? We have seen in the first slide itself. The arrangement of atoms is the key thing for the density, the physical property, what you are measuring here. If it is closely packed, you will have more density. If it is loosely packed, you will have less density. So let us see what is the arrangement of these 2 hydrogen atom and oxygen atom. So oxygen atom, what is the atomic number of the oxygen atom? Anybody? How many electrons will be there? This you should know. I can expect this from you. What is the atomic number of
Six.
oxygen atom? How much?
6 electrons.
6 electron? Guys?
Sir, 8 electrons.
Yes. So atomic number is, let me make clear. Atomic number is number of electron. So if it is a neutral atom, then it will match with the number of proton. So when we speak about a neutral atom, when they say atomic number is so and so figure, so you can consider it is same as number of electron and number of proton. So 8 means number of electron is 8 and number of proton also 8. So since it's a neutral atom, both the positive and negative charge balance each other. So we will call it as generally atomic number. So from that you can get two data, two information. One is number of electron and number of proton. Okay, fine. So oxygen atom got 8 electrons. So we will write electronic configuration for this. So 4, 6, 7, 8. 4, 6. Oh, sorry. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So what I did here, maybe I take it for granted. You guys should know what is electronic configuration, because if I try to explain, that will take one more class. So okay, generally I'll say this is the principal quantum number. This S, P, those are like subshells, and here 2 is number of electrons. It depends upon the orbitals. So every subshell will have particular orbital. So S is having 1 orbital. So each orbital will have 2 electrons. So P will have 3 orbitals. So it will have 6 electrons. Supposed to have 6 electrons, but it got 3 and 4 electrons here. So now we can match here 2 plus 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So totally 8 electrons. So in this way only the oxygen atom will be occupied. I mean, will have the configuration. So this is the nucleus. Inside you consider 8 protons are there. Okay. So first shell will have 2 electrons, and second shell will have how many electrons? 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So second shell will have 6 electrons. Okay. Are you guys with me? Guys? Are you guys with me? Yes. So you can see, for the sake of simplicity, second level, I have put all the 6 electrons in a single circle. But actually, if you see the atom, really, so it will not be like this, because the second shell is subdivided into further subshells, SP. So S shell will be having 2, subshell will be having 2, and P subshell will be having, so like this configuration that I can't show you here because I am drawing in 2D. So very difficult to show you. So generally you will see this picture always. Always this picture you will be seeing regularly. But if you write it in the electronic configuration, it will help you to understand how the atoms behaves. So if you write it like this, so it will be written like this. In the first shell 2, but second shell will be further divided into S and P subshell. So if it is having third shell, it will be further divided into 3S, 3P, 3D. So it may goes like that. Fourth shell means 4S, 4P, 4D, 4F. So those things you will be learning, that it takes separate class, because we want to know about principal quantum number, angular momentum quantum number, then magnetic quantum number, then spin quantum number. So based on that, this configuration happens. So we will not go in detail into that. So this is how it looks, oxygen atom. So but what happens here, from the configuration you can see each orbital, I said 2 electron is possible, but here you see the 2 orbitals are having only 1 electron each. So it is vacant. So still it can hold another 2 electrons, right? So that is why it got 2 electrons from 2 hydrogen atom. But why hydrogen atom wants to give? So for that, again, you have to see what is the electronic configuration of hydrogen atom. What is the atomic number of hydrogen atom? Anybody?
1.
Yes. This one electron, one proton. So we are writing electronic configuration because proton will be there in the nucleus, but electron, how it is arranged? Again, first shell, it is having one orbital. So here one electron. So I am using like a arrow because each orbital have 2 electron, but not of same spin. So this is upward direction is one spin and downward direction another spin. This is plus of, this is minus of. Okay, this is a quantum spin. So opposite spin electrons only will occupy the same orbital. So that is what Pauli's exclusion principle you would have read. No electron quantum particle will occupy the same quantum number, set of quantum numbers. It will not have same set of quantum number. Even though in the same orbital, it will have different spin. Same spin it won't share. Okay, so to differentiate the only I'm using this up arrow and down arrow. So one electron, so one is here. But still each orbital is supposed to have 2 electrons. So I got one electron here, up electron here. So it can share with one more down electron. So hydrogen needs 1 electron and oxygen also needs 2 electrons. Now you see the demand. Hydrogen also needs 1 electron to fulfill that orbital. Oxygen also needs one more 2 electron to close the orbital, so that no empty seats will be there, no vacant seats will be there, completely filled. So there is a demand for both of these. So they want electrons. So it will be measured in terms of electronegativity. The atoms, even though proton and neutrons are balanced, so protons and electrons are balanced, still the atom is hungry for the electrons. So that hungry only measured in terms of electronegativity. So I'm speaking more of chemistry than the physics, but it is required. Somewhere all the departments should merge, right? Overlap. When you keep on going to the basic level, all the field will merge. So there is a hungry for these atoms to take electrons. So oxygen is, so it will be measured in terms of electronegativity, I said. Okay, fine. And I shown you also what is electronegativity here. There is a demand. Oxygen also needs 2 electrons, hydrogen also needs 1 electron. So what oxygen does, it will have a covalent bond with the hydrogen atom. So here is the nucleus. Okay, here 1 electron. So this one more electron from the be shared. Okay, so what will happen, like mutually shared. So this electron, it will be in both the place, it will be in hydrogen also. So let me draw here. I don't know how to undo this only. So right, the electrons are shared. So hydrogen also satisfied, oxygen also still not satisfied. It needs one more hydrogen atom here. So now you can see hydrogen got 2 electrons. Okay, so its stomach got filled. Oxygen also got, hydrogen got 1 electron. Each hydrogen atom got 1 electron, and the oxygen atom got 2 electrons from 2 hydrogen atom. So all are win-win case. So all are happy now. So it has formed a stable molecule. So that is the reason for the molecule formulation based on the electronegativity. The hungry for the electrons only cause the chemical reaction, guys, cause the bond. Okay, the covalent bond, whatever bond you will be reading, ionic bond, everything based on the electronegativity. So that will, you can see further deep in the, you can read further deep in chemistry. So now we got the shape H2O. So we got this. Oxygen is here, hydrogen atoms are here. So what I want to show you here is, so now how many electrons is there with the oxygen atom? It got extra 2 electrons now. So 8 protons here, 8 electrons it should have neutrally, but because of the hungry it has taken another 2 electrons. So it has become 10 electrons now, and all those 2 electrons are in the second p shell. Here it is there. So you can see in the second level only it got shared. So in the inner electrons are, how many inner electrons are there? Guys, how many inner electrons are there in inner shell? I want to, yes, 2. So in inner shell there are 2 electrons. So these 2 electrons will shield the 8 protons. So how many remaining protons will have the control over these electrons? These 2 electrons shielded 2 protons here. So the balance 6 proton wants to attract these. But how many electrons are there in second shell? 8 electrons. But how many protons you got here? Then after screening, I'm telling, after screening, balancing with these 2 electron, 2 inner electron and 2 proton, how many protons can attract these? 6 protons only can attract this 8 electron. So still we are short of 2 proton because the 2 protons are balanced by these inner electron. So these electrons dominates the atom. Okay, so it has become negatively charged. So the oxygen atom, just a circle I'm drawing, the oxygen atom has become negatively charged by 2. Can you guys get it? How I got that? Why it has become negatively charged, the oxygen atom? Because the screening of the proton by the inner electron, it is left us with only 6 protons. The 6 protons will balance only 6 electrons. So still another 2 electron is more. So oxygen become negatively charged. But what about hydrogen? What about hydrogen here? Because these electrons got pulled here, so it has become positively charged. Okay. These electrons got pulled here. This has become positively charged. So oxygen become negatively charged, hydrogen become positively charged, but overall neutral. So we will call this as polar molecules. What we will call? We will call this polar molecules. Why are you calling polar molecules? Because polarized. It is polarized. Negative charges are one side, positive charges are one side. It got polarized like a battery. You can take a battery, one side positive, one side negative. So molecule got polarized, but totally it is neutral. See, 2 negative, each positive will cancel each other. Totally it is neutral. But inside the molecules, you can see the polarity. It got separated. Positive charge are one side, negative charge are one side. So this plays the crucial role. So this plays the crucial role. So let me remove this. So now we got, actually this, oh sorry, this is 2 minus. Okay, so we got the molecule structure like this, polar molecule structure. So what happens? So in the liquid state, let me show you next slide. So in the liquid state, what happens? These polar molecules, the orange one is oxygen, the hydrogen, the blue ones are hydrogen. These polar molecules will be like not having any bond, it will be moving freely. Okay, slightly it will have the attraction. With what? Because it is having one more other molecules, right? So it will have the bond here. So I will show the bond like this. So this plus charge will attract the negative charge. There is an electrostatic force. This is called hydrogen bonding. What it is? Hydrogen bonding. This hydrogen atom will attract the oxygen atom electrostatically. Okay, there is electrostatic force of attraction because of the opposite charges. So this is called hydrogen bonding. So this plus will take 1 minus and one more polar molecule from here. This will take 1 more minus. So you can see how the hydrogen bonding is establishing between these polar molecules, polar water molecules. But in normal temperature, like room temperature, this hydrogen bonding is very weak. Because of the room temperature, the polar molecules are having higher kinetic energy compared to the hydrogen bonding. So it will never make the hydrogen bond. It will come and touch and go, but will never bond together. It will be floating like this. But when you keep on reduce the temperature, when you reduce the temperature to 30, 25, 15, and 4 degree, the kinetic energy become low. Then the polar molecules, polar water molecules start to experience the hydrogen bonding between each other. So because of the hydrogen bonding, so what will happen? This I am saying in the temperature of so this is the down temperature 4 degrees Celsius. If you go below 4 degree, not 4 degree, if you go below 4 degree, so what will be the structure now? Oxygen, hydrogens, oxygen, hydrogen. So it will form the structure like this. Okay. So in the previous slide, in the room temperature, it was like moving freely. It was not making the bond, hydrogen bond. But when you keep on reduce the temperature, the hydrogen bond becomes stronger than the kinetic energy. So it will start to form like this. So that means it is what happens, it leaves so much space in between. It is not arranged like what we see in the regular solids, not like neatly arranged, like crystal lattice is not like arranged, regularly packed. What happens, there is a gap. Okay, there is a gap between these polar molecules. There is a lot of empty spaces. So for the given number of molecules, if you reduce the temperature, it occupies more space. Okay, that is after when? After 4 degrees Celsius. If you drop the temperature below 4 degrees Celsius, it occupies more space because of what? Because of this key factor called hydrogen bonding. Why there is a hydrogen bonding? Because the water molecules are polar molecules. Why it is polar molecules? We have seen. Why the charge has come for this water molecules? We have seen very clearly why it got the charge, because of the electronic configuration. The screening of nuclear charge is not happening there. So because of that, this is happening. So because of hydrogen bonding, nuclear effective screening of nuclear charge result in hydrogen polar molecules, and the polar molecules started to attract each other molecules by electrostatic force. Then we got the hydrogen bonding. Because of the hydrogen bonding, it occupies more space. So when you keep on reduce the temperature, it becomes ice. It occupies more space for the given number of polar molecules. Then obviously the density becomes lower for the ice. So this is what we will see. If you take 1 gram of water and 1 gram, same 1 gram of water and 1 gram of ice, if you see it, somehow if you see the molecules here using some technique, so number of polar molecules are more for the given volume. But here you see, for the given volume, the polar molecules are widely spaced because of this pattern. Why this pattern has come? Due to hydrogen bonding. So hydrogen bonding is the key thing, made the polar molecules to arrange in such a way, so it left a lot of empty spaces in between. It occupies more space in the ice cubes. So ice cubes are bigger volume compared to water, right? So when it's a bigger volume for the same mass, density is lower. The smaller volume for the same mass, density is higher. So water is more denser than the ice. So as per Archimedes principle, the ice floats. Any doubt here? We concluded here. Any doubt? Guys? No doubts. Okay, there are 2 fascinating facts due to this property of ice. This is more interesting. So in the aquatic life, if you see in any lake, when the temperature goes down, when water starts to freeze, from bottom it won't fill up. The ice will not fill up from the bottom. The ice will start to float to the top because of this beautiful property. Since ice is floating to the top, like sheets of ice will be floating on top of the lake, and below the sheets of ice you will see a liquid water. So it will protect all the aquatic life. Now we can see how nature is beautiful here because of this property of hydrogen bonding. From the bottom of the lake, ice is not forming. You think of it. From the bottom of the lake, if it forms ice, what will happen? all the aquatic life will like extinct. It will go extinct. All the species will die. But because of this beautiful property of this ice, the hydrogen bonding, polar molecules, polar water molecules, the ice is forms, but it floats to the top because of the low density. It floats to the top, and bottom will be always water. So thick sheet of ice will form on the top of the water. Below that, liquid water will be there. So all the aquatic life will be protected. And one more property is, I will tell you this experiment. You can do it at your home also. Take 1 cup of glass, fill half of the glass with water, and put on ice cube, only on single ice cube, because for the sake of simplicity, you can visually see. Then start to fill again. Then the water will rise up to the lip of the glass. You fill it up. Now you can see the ice will be floating above the glass. Okay, it will be floating somewhat above the glass. But once the ice melts, you may expect water will come down. Okay, water will spill out. You may expect from the tumbler or glass. But for your surprise, you can see the water will never spill out. That you got to explain yourself. You have to understand why it is not spilling out. Whatever volume got melted, it will just mix with the water and it will stays at the same level. That is because of what? You have to think it out. Okay, so because of this property, there will not be any flooding or rise in sea level. When iceberg, whatever floating iceberg, even though if it melts, the sea level won't increase, because the volume what is occupied while floating, the same volume of water will again mix with that when it melts. Okay, there will not be any increase in level, so that you can virtually see if you do this experiment at your home, and you can write a conclusion. Okay, fine. Any doubt, guys? You guys understood? No, you didn't understand. Who is that said no? Okay. Anybody is having any doubt in electronic configuration? So you guys know what is quantum number, everything. You guys are aware of electronic configuration, shells, subshells, orbitals, Aufbau principle, Hund's rule, Pauli's exclusion principle, everything. You guys are aware of it. Okay, that is good. I never expected. That's good. Okay, guys. Then that's it. We'll sign off.